Hi there. Yeah, I'm here. Surprisingly.
Still alive.
Currently working on a Toby model. Some of y'all will get to see that. Hello, Tonks. I hope you're doing well. Also, peep the layout. Also, new engine that we've been working on. This is Lily from Wild Northwester series. Love her to death. She's got a 3D whistle, safety valve, and all. I need to finish priming her so I can do one last final sand. And once that happens, I'll paint her up and we'll have her. So yeah, I'll take those. Alright. Do 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 do. Really?
Taco Bell just dropped the new Cravings Value Menu. Now you can get 10 items for $3 or less, which means you can get the food you want for the price you want. It's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
In this case, it's a double stack taco from the new Cravings Value Menu. So basically, you can have your double stack taco and eat it too, which is a lot crunchier than cake. The new Cravings Value Menu is here. Get it at Taco Bell today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for price and participation which vary. Tax extra.
There we go.
Thank you for subscribing, Vulcan Fire.
Hi, we're Visible. We're the wireless company with nothing to hide. Seriously. Hidden fees? We don't have them. Annual contracts? Not our thing. Great wireless on just one line? Now that's more like it. Get unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon for just $25 a month. Taxes and fees included. That's right, $25 a month, every month. Sorry, hidden fees. We're just not that into you. Sometimes the choice is just Visible. Switch today at visible.com. Rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see visible.com.
Take your business further with the American Express Business Gold Card, now smarter and more flexible. It's packed with enhanced benefits that are built for your business, all with the powerful backing of Amex. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/businessgoldcard.
Howdy, Joseph. Howdy, Javier. I hope you guys are doing well.
Get ready, Virginia. Something new is here. Optima Health is now Centera Health Plans. It's a new name, same excellent health coverage you trust. Offering the same gold standard of personal service. From a trusted health plan in your community. Now called something a little different. Centera Health Plans. Same trusted health plan. To learn more, visit centerahealthplans.com.
Doing alright. For the most part, at least.
Gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
University of Phoenix is transfer friendly. And when you transfer in 12 to 60 credits, you're eligible for up to a $3,000 scholarship. Because friends do the little things that can change oh no to oh yeah. Get started at phoenix.edu.
There is. I do have a video. Well, that was not good. I do have a video planned to come out about this kind of stuff. I just gotta finish editing it. That's all it is. But yeah, there is...
heard. His ear said Maraca, senor, but his nose said, hey, freshest scent ever. Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring gain scent beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, sir, your scent maracas smell amazing. You could call them scent maracas, but most noses call them gain scent beads. Try gain scent beads. Way fresher than detergent alone.
That video should be going out. Oh, I could probably show off Toby. He did just finish. Here's Toby.
know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Alright, so we're going to take a look at Toby real quick. Yeah, I know, my desk is a mess. I am so sorry. So this is Toby.
When you use bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
skies adventurers, the late-night truck drivers, the stuff the fam in the van road trippers, or even the hard-nosed deal closers. Your Wyndham is waiting. No matter who you are, where you're going, or why. With 24 trusted brands to choose from like La Quinta, Days Inn, and Super 8, there's a hotel by Wyndham for everyone. Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. Your Wyndham is waiting. Get the lowest price at wyndhamhotels.com. Restrictions apply. Visit website for more details.
W-2 and file your taxes 100% free with TurboTax Free Edition.
It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor. The engines were up and getting prepared for the day's work. Percy and Toby were already up, but Thomas was still in the sheds.
Thomas, wake up!
Oh, good morning, driver.
Morning, boy. Still sleepy, I see.
Oh, a little. Yeah.
Fireman is trying to start your fire, but it's taken a little while, so it seems. But you'll be up and running in a bit.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Thomas. You took your time waking up.
Oh, ha, very funny, Percy. Just took a little longer to light up my fire. But other than that, I'm all set for work.
Well, it's nice to see you two, old chipper. Driver says it's going to be a beautiful sunny day.
Oh, that does sound nice. Oh, Percy, do you remember Sir Topham Hatt's important job for us? He told us yesterday to meet him at Knapford.
Oh, right. I almost forgot about that. I wonder what it could be, but it sounds very important.
Well, obviously, if it's an important job.
All right, boys, we're all set.
See you later, Toby.
Bye, Toby.
I'll see you later, you two, and good luck with your important job.
We're Visible, the wireless company with nothing to hide. Get unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon for $25 a month. Taxes and fees included. Sorry, hidden fees. We're just not into you. Switch today at Visible.com. Rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see Visible.com.
I bet none of you saw this one coming. I purchased a sight unseen PC that apparently has been untested and is a pre-built from Dell. It's an Alienware. It's an Alienware PC. I might have gotten screwed, I don't know. Now you can see the eBay listing here. An Alienware Aurora system actually looks somewhat clean, and well, that's about all I know about it. I'm not even sure what the specs are because, well, none were listed. And of course, like I said, it wasn't tested either. So we might have just gotten totally screwed out of about $300 US. Well, at least it was packaged with care. No, but seriously, it actually was packaged quite nicely. So shout out to the seller. Although I'm gonna hold my reservations about whether or not this is actually a good deal for when we test the thing. It looks to be in decent shape though. Raymond, if you wanna come around here, show them a close-up of the front I/O, right? not too bad. So far, so good. Ooh, and look at this. We even get a sweet little peel around back there. I will take it. What's that? There we go. Good vibes all around. We're gonna try powering this thing on, and well, if it does, we'll test it in some games. And if it doesn't power on, well, welcome to a fix or flop episode. Are you ready? Stay with me. If you're sick of seeing that same Activate Windows watermark over and over, head on over to VIP SCD Key, where they have Windows 10 and 11 Pro OEM keys at a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and say bye-bye to the watermark. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for that sweet discount. Now I want to kick things off with a disclaimer. I am not trying to fault the seller for anything that might or might not happen in this video. He was actually very upfront about what he didn't know about this. Apparently it does have a Core i5 9th gen, and you can see from the sticker here in the B-roll, and the case is a bit scuffed up, but it doesn't look too dirty. It doesn't look like it was abused to any extent, and well, that's about all we know about it. The seller is pretty much as in the dark as we are because he didn't take it apart. In fact, he's not sure if it's ever been open. It weighs about 22 pounds, it's 100% untested, and we have absolutely no idea what this graphics card is here. It has a DVI port though, so it's probably not the newest thing around. First things first, let's go ahead and open this up and see what is on the inside. Ooh, I don't think that was the way we were supposed to open this. It's been a while since I've tinkered with Alienware stuff. Wowee at the power supply, it's just sitting right there. I think our motherboard, it's right underneath this. Who puts a power supply there? It's Dell, that's who. I have absolutely no idea how to get into this thing. I'm just taking out some screws and hoping we can find our way in, okay. Ooh, this is an RTX graphics card. I did not expect that considering this has a DVI port. What RTX card has a DVI port? What card? I have no idea. I'll take it though. I mean, as long as it's not broken. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, we need to try powering this thing on. I was just antsy. I wanted to see what card we were dealing with and, well, how cluttered everything was in here since Alienware systems aren't known to be the most appealing. Let's see here. It powers on. So it posts. This is impressive. For 300 bucks, 9th gen Core i5, RTX, even if it's an RTX 2060, that's still a win, I think. It's even got an operating system loaded on it. I maybe should make sure this doesn't touch the World Wide Web, just in case there's like stuff on the drive. So this here is the boot drive. It's a Gen 3 SK Hynix 256 gig SSD, and well, as you can see in the previous clip, it has Windows loaded on it. It loads straight into a pretty much blank desktop. But just to be safe, I'm gonna format this and reinstall Windows because, well, I don't like viruses. The next day and another t-shirt later, I've taken some time to think about this system and the listing. I'm a bit hesitant to just jump on board the, wow, everything works train, because if it's untested, like, why can't you just plug it in and see that it turns on? I mean, that takes like not even a few minutes, you know, connected to a monitor, it works. You don't have to be a computer person to know how to, you know, at least plug it in and power it on. And so I'm still holding on to this small possibility that this seller knew there was an issue with it and decided to list it as untested anyway, which happens a lot on eBay, and that's the risk that we all take when we buy rigs like these. Again, I don't think that the seller has this intent, but I've seen it before, and so what we might run into if we start heavily stressing the system is some degree of artifacting, which would be the result of a dying graphics card. So I've got my hard drive in here with my Steam library. We're just gonna test maybe 2-3 games to give you guys an idea of how this performs, assuming everything works, and well, if it doesn't work, you'll see that live as well. But we didn't end up getting too far. This inaccessible boot device, BSOD, has consistently popped up. I have no clue why, because it was working in the previous shots. You saw it literally on the Windows desktop. So we tried reinstalling Windows. That was, of course, something I was going to do regardless because, well, it did look a bit sketchy, some of the files in this download folder, and just to play it safe, again, I'm gonna be connecting this to my own network. I just wanted a clean slate. And that's when the problems began. I swapped the boot drive itself as well to try to bypass whatever weird BSOD we were running into, and it still refused to even detect. Also, why was RAID enabled in the BIOS by default? And why does it keep trying to boot over the network by default, even after I persistently change this setting to the Windows Boot Manager? Fishy things are about. Surely there isn't a second boot drive in here. It wouldn't make sense to put a 256 gig SSD in RAID 1 or RAID 0, let alone in a pre-built from a company like Dell. I don't know. We're gonna have to pull some things apart here. What wattage is this unit, by the way? 460. Nice. Does it just pivot out like this? Like a door? Oh, this is pretty jank, to use Raymond's words. I'm not totally sold on this dinky little cooler here either. It looks worse than the stock Intel cooler. And it has a large metal plate just right above it, so it's pulling literally zero air. I'm sure that's epic for thermals. Not seeing anything super fishy here. There's an extra fan up top I didn't know about. Just a single M.2 slot, and again, regardless of the drive we connect to this board, we either get a blue screen of death or we get a boot failure notice in the BIOS, which kind of ties our hands, because this board, while the shape of it's not proprietary, the cutouts at the back of the case are to this specific board, which means we can't just swap in a new motherboard and roll with the cutouts back here. That's not going to work.
A few moments later.
Whoa, look at that. We are on the desktop finally. That took, well, you don't want to know how long that took. A little over, what, a couple hours, right? It was pretty bad. We're going to sound pretty dumb when we tell you what the reason was. It was the RAID on setting. Why on earth RAID on was enabled by default in this pre-built with only a single 256 gig SSD installed is beyond me, and I forgot to switch it back to RAID when we put the original drive back in. So that's why I wasn't reading it. You have to stick with the original config that the drive was set up with, and that was, for whatever reason, RAID, and that's how we got back into Windows, finally, after just a crazy roller coaster of emotions. I'm pretty annoyed by this system right now. I had to pull up the NVIDIA control panel to see what card was initially in here. We couldn't visually tell. There's nothing indicating what version of an RTX card this is, but it's about what we expected. An RTX 2060, I mean, for a card to have a DVI port, that's definitely a Dell-specific thing. Most 2060s, I'm pretty sure, don't, if I recall correctly. And this is also only an 8-pin supplemental PCIe card, so it couldn't have been a higher power thing, like a 2070 or 28. It would have made sense. So this isn't too much of a surprise, but it is still a win. I mean, considering we paid $300 for the system all in, as long as this performs well in games and doesn't artifact or anything and runs cool enough, then I think we might have made out here. Kicking things off first with 3D Mark Time Spy, our 1440p synthetic. Tried and true, this will give us a chance to compare this system to others as well. Keep in mind, we only paid, again, about $300 for this. So far, so good. No complaints. The card is actually running quite cool. And as a result, we score 6473. That's 7338 on the graphics card and 3882 on the CPU side of things. So we're definitely going to be more CPU bound than GPU bound, I imagine, in many of the games that we test with this system. That's to be expected, though, since our Core i5-9400 is only a 6-core, 6-thread counterpart, and from the 9th gen Intel lineup, which is quite old by this point. Scoring better than 28% of all submitted results isn't too bad when you think about how many much more powerful systems have run through this synthetic before, so that's going to skew results in one direction. I imagine if we threw this in 3D Mark Firestrike, we'd be scoring significantly higher. But overall, I think the most useful thing we can take away from this synthetic is that CPU versus GPU bottleneck. I think we're going to run into some issues with the Core i5. Now time for our first official game, Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is tested in 1080p medium preset, and we're actually doing quite well here. Around 100 FPS or so is pretty good. I think we're doing better than we probably should, considering our CPU is maxed out across the board. It's actually kind of funny watching all 6 of these cores absolutely sweat. You can see our GPU up top is averaging somewhere around 60 to 70% utilization most of the time. Temperatures are around 72 to 73 for both the CPU and GPU as well, which is actually better than I thought we'd see, since this layout and this computer is a bit questionable, especially given the size and location of the CPU cooler with respect to the other components in here. All in all though, very happy with this, just not so happy with my gameplay. Next on the list is our trusty GTA 5 built-in benchmark, again 1080p resolution, and this time with high settings, no AA of any kind, and no advanced graphics. Around 100 FPS in the flight scene isn't too bad, although we do see the frame rate dip quite substantially down at the road view. Depending on how chaotic the scene gets, the CPU becomes over-leveraged, and that results in a frame dip occasionally down to around 50 or 40, which I would normally try to avoid if possible. I think bumping up to a Core i7 from this generation would help smooth things over. And you can see our graphics card is just chilling up top there, around 30 to 40% utilization. We're not even maxing out frequency here, and it's at around 50 degrees Celsius, so definitely still CPU bound, which is what we expected. And lastly, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, this time in the DX12 API, still 1080p and medium preset, around 60 to 70 FPS depending on the scene, is to be expected for a title like this. We aren't enabling DLSS, even though we technically could with this RTX 2060. This is a more graphically intensive title, so the GPU is definitely being leveraged more, around 75% or so. The temperature is also spiking as well. You can still, our CPU cores are still struggling pretty heavily, around 98, 99% utilization, pretty much maxed out for all intents and purposes, and that is what I imagine is really hurting our frame rate here, keeping us from getting closer to 80 or 90 like I'd like to see in a title like this. Well, 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 we sort of tricked ourselves into thinking this actually had an issue, when in reality it didn't, and to our surprise, it didn't artifact or anything either in games. It ran quite cool, and it didn't run very loud, with the exception of some questionable coil whine, especially in in-game menus. I think that's just the card's fault. It's a kind of an off-brand, like OEM RTX 2060. It's not my first choice. It's probably close to my last choice for a non-Founders Edition 2060. But all that said, for $300, I think we got really lucky with this. I mean, when you factor in just the price of the graphics card and the CPU alone in the used market, we're already more than halfway there. And then combine that with a fully working power supply, the case is totally fine. It comes with a 256 gig NVMe SK Hynix drive, and it's super clean. I mean, all around, it doesn't even look like the system was used very much. The airflow is, yes, a bit questionable. Definitely don't like the CPU cooler location with respect to the power supply that's sitting directly on top of it. But all in all, I mean, I really can't believe that we got this lucky from an eBay listing for a system that was untested. Most of the time when you hear the phrase untested, it means that they've probably tested it and it doesn't work, and they just don't want to say that. And I get it, like whether you think it's morally, ethically correct, that's just how it is. So in general, if you don't want to get screwed, maybe stay away from untested. But for now, I've got to say I'm pretty happy with this purchase. Without a doubt, this platform is certainly dead. It's a dead end. There's no upgrade path really in sight, apart from just upgrading to a Core i7 within the same generation of CPUs, and to me that doesn't make a ton of sense. It only has a single stick of DDR4. In fact, I didn't even verify if it was 8 or 16 gigs. We probably should do that. Here you go, here's a B-roll shot. Nice, the magic of editing. Considering what we paid, we can't be too picky about the performance we're getting here, considering we only paid $300 for it. I've built several $300 systems in the past, and I've got to be honest, even though this is a pre-built, and I know Dell, Alienware, it's a turnoff for a lot of you custom builders out there, I think we did pretty good. If you haven't subscribed already, consider clicking that red button. It's going to be somewhere down there, I think, unless Raymond wants to make me look stupid and he puts it on the other side of the screen. I'm sure he'll probably do that now that I said it. And consider liking the video if you enjoyed it. This was definitely a different one. I love kind of just jumping out of my comfort zone and just throwing a few $100 at some random thing listed on eBay. So far, we're 2 for 2. I mean, apart from that dead motherboard and the other random mystery eBay PC we bought, this one has 0 issues. So there's that. I'm gonna knock on wood. I gotta do that. Thanks so much for watching. Again, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this one, and stay tuned for the next. My name is Greg. Thanks for learning with me.
This is it!
I have a bit of a confession to make. I am slightly addicted to building servers, it is a costly venture, my friends. Please do not follow me down this rabbit hole if you value your wallet, but I really enjoy them. I think they are so cool. I cannot believe I haven't gotten into this sooner. This is going to be a separate NAS, so it's actually going to be independent of the previous server you saw us build on this channel. I'm migrating those hard disk drives to this setup here because I think it's better to have separate systems doing separate things. For redundancy's sake, we'll also take care of a few other redundancies in this one, including a RAID 1 primary storage array, and then we're also going to be throwing the 16 terabyte drives we took out of that original system into these hot swap bays here at the bottom. There's a lot to do, a lot to build, and at the end we'll make sure it all works and probably install maybe Proxmox and TrueNAS, I guess. I don't know. Probably Proxmox and TrueNAS. I want to stay away from Windows if I can, although I am tempted by storage spaces because it was super easy to set up. I know people don't like Windows for server stuff, but at the end of the day, it gets the job done. You make the argument one way or the other. I'm going to stick with Proxmox because it is what I'm least comfortable with, and I want to learn stuff, so we're just going to dive in head first. Are you ready? Stay with me. If you're sick of seeing that same Activate Windows watermark over and over, head on over to VIP SCD Key, where they have Windows 10 and 11 Pro OEM keys at a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and say bye-bye to the watermark. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for that sweet discount. Let's kick things off by taking a closer look at the Silverstone RM21-304. Not a colorful consumer grade name because, again, it's a server chassis, so it doesn't really need to be. We have quick release buttons on the top here to quickly slide off that top cover, and as you can see, plenty of room for activities in here, including up to MATX motherboards, which is nice. Full-size ATX power supply support, including several adapters to run things like server power supply standards, which is convenient. You get those 4 hot swap bays. You have to remember those are going to be down below, and you don't need additional cables run to each of those drives since the board is baked into the case, which is quite convenient, although you will need Molex power, 2 Molex connectors to power this board. I wish they were SATA, but it's not the end of the world. And then you have an optional 5th 3.5-inch tray above this assembly, as well as a 2.5-inch tray next to that, and even 5.25-inch slim optical drive support up to 12.7 millimeters. That ain't too shabby. There are 3 80mm 15mm thick PWM fans in here. That's going to give active cooling to not only our hard disk drives, but also some of the components in the back, because remember, all the space up front, except for what's down at the very bottom where the hot swap bays are, is going to be pretty much empty, so I don't think airflow is going to be much of an issue at all here. Just remember, this is only a 2U chassis, so CPU cooler clearance is going to be a bit of a struggle if you plan on going for something like a tower cooler. It's the gaming PC mindset. You'd preferably want to use some kind of server cooler for a rig like this. Ideally one that lets you kind of streamline air from front to back, at least when oriented this way. I don't have one of those. We're going to be using a much newer AM5 CPU anyway than what you'd find in most NASs, but again, I don't think cooling is going to be an issue, and we're going to underclock the crap out of our AM5 CPU to make sure that thermals aren't really an issue. The only thing we may have to mind is this single SAS to 4 SATA cable here that I actually had to buy myself because, well, we only have a single SAS out from the logic board that runs the 4 hot swap bays. So I think, I haven't done the math, but I think we'll be okay. We might be slightly reduced in terms of transfer speed, but yeah, this was really the only solution we could go for unless we wanted like a server motherboard or something, which I don't have on hand. And as for the remaining hardware, this one might be a bit confusing. Why I didn't cheap out on the platform, because, well, to run a NAS, you don't need high-end hardware. You could go with an older generation Intel Celeron or Core i3 setup, but I wanted to stick with the latest revision of AMD's Ryzen lineup because we already have a Ryzen 9 7950X 3D, I think, in the compute server, along with that RTX 4094 remote gaming down the line. So I've got a Ryzen 5 7600 to throw into our network server, our network attached storage server. So the B650M from ASRock is going to be handling that. We've got the 4 drives. We have 4 SATA ports, which is going to be totally fine here. We might have to tinker a bit in software to make them all work and be detected. That always tends to be a struggle with these cheaper boards. And then we have 2 2TB MP600 Pro XTs with their coolers ripped off that will be running in RAID 1 for a redundancy there in the operating system. This is just going to ensure that if anything does happen to one of these 2 boot drives, the other will act as a backup, and at that point I can very quickly, come up with some sort of solution to, prevent that from happening again. I mean, servers and things are, you know, they're very delicate. You don't want them to just crash randomly, especially if you're using the server for pulling data to and from all the time, which we might be editing from these servers. So I want to make sure that we have a backup there in case one of these dies. And then we have a Purock LP. It's a 100-watt TDP, low-profile CPU cooler, and not necessarily a server cooler. Ideally, we want to have a side-facing fan that will help kind of ventilate things front to back. But again, we're going to be underclocking this chip. It will be sipping on power, so I'm not too worried there. And of course, rounding things out with a straight power 12 850-watt modular power supply. This is an 80+ Platinum unit. It's super efficient. It's much larger than we need, but I like Be Quiet stuff, and I love how efficient this stuff is, how good it looks, even though you can't see it in this server, and we're just going to roll with it. The top panel, by the way, does have ventilation for our power supply, so we'll be running things fan side up. So let's kick things off with our platform. Now we're just going to kind of take this as it comes. I'm not sure if we're going to run into any issues. I actually had to order the SAS cable overnight because I didn't realize that the Silverstone case only has a SAS port on it, so might run into more situations like that here. Not entirely sure. We're going to drop the CPU in, lower the retention arm here, and we'll save this for a rainy day. And then in goes our two DDR5 DIMMs. We'll remove this metal heat slab. We only have one here. The second drive will just kind of be chilling like so. We'll get the first one in. And here's number 2. If you can't already tell, these have been slightly used in the past. All right, and just one more thing to take care of for the platform, that being the CPU cooler. I really dig this cooler. It's very low profile. Again, 100-watt TDP for a cooler with this sort of footprint is pretty sweet. We'll stick with the pre-applied thermal paste, and this part's gonna be a bit tricky because we have to actually fasten this from underneath. So we'll need to get the cooler situated about where it needs to be and then flip everything over. But it was at this point I realized we had a bit of a problem. See, this cooler technically supports AM5, but we have to bolt things in from behind, so the underside of the motherboard. Usually not a problem. However, in the case of some motherboard backplates, especially in the AM5 range, you can see I've already chipped off a bit of the edge of the backplate just trying to get this thing down. So basically not compatible, which sucks because I was really looking forward to that denser Be Quiet fin stack. So instead we've gone with the stock Wraith Stealth cooler, and well, it's not going to do as well. Again, I don't expect we're going to have thermal issues since we're going to be underclocking quite a bit. I was a bit worried about clearance top to bottom. This will be cutting it pretty close to just sitting flush with that top panel in the server case, so we'll see. I think we'll still be fine, seeing as though we're going to have some fresh air coming in from the front thanks to those 80mm fans. Here's how our platform looks all put together, and now let's get it inside our server chassis. Our rear IO shield is integrated, so we can just drop things in like this right here. It looks like everything is lined up correctly, and we can tighten it down with Phillips screws. We'll tackle basic wiring, including these SATA data cables, just to get them out of the way. If I can wiggle them in, there we go. And a bit of cable management wouldn't hurt to take care of some excess. Next up is our beefy power supply. Like I said, this is way overkill. We could get by with even a 300-watt unit if we really wanted. Just 3 cables is all we need to attach, and like I said, fan side up for some ventilation. Let's see. Come on now. Bend these cables a bit. Yeah, we're gonna have plenty of excess that we'll have to do something about. And check out how flush this is. I'm actually kind of concerned that this might not fit with the top panel on, so let's do a quick test fit. Got the cables just kind of sitting in there for now. Oh boy. It actually fits, and it slid on with ease, so there's nothing really holding it up. This power supply is just pressed right against this grill. I really thought we were gonna need some zip ties, but it looks like we have more or less tamed the cable monster here. You only have this space practically to work with excess cabling. I recommend either custom cables, although that would be kind of silly in like an actual enterprise grade server, or using like, I don't know, just a power supply with shorter cables in general. Usually some SFX power supplies will have shorter cabling. These full-size units do not, which means you're just gonna have to shove it all right here. And so now that that's taken care of, pretty much the only other thing we need to do is install our hard disk drives. Then we can power up and install our operating system, Proxmox probably, and then TrueNAS to manage our, I guess our RAID 10. I think we're gonna do RAID 10, maybe a RAID Z, but I'm leaning more towards RAID 10 just because I'm not as concerned about having maximum storage space. I really want like fast reads and writes, which is going to be useful for when we're pulling storage over the network to a local machine, and I want redundancy, of course, as well. So RAID 10 kind of gives you that at the cost of additional storage space, but like I said, I think 28 or so gigs will be just fine. All we have to do is drop a 3.5-inch drive into each of these trays like so. Fasten each with included Phillips screws, and we can slide them in one by one. Here's the first, all the way in, and it should lock in place. This is the second, the third, and the fourth, all the way in, and then we can lock it in place. Now I've got to say, this is a pretty sweet looking server. Perks of using gaming hardware for NS like this. Totally overkill. Again, I want to reiterate that if you want to copy this verbatim, it's fine, be my guest, but just remember that you could be saving a lot more money for essentially the same performance. All you need is something to manage the hard drives and run Proxmox. Integrated graphics would be nice. You don't need a discrete card. We obviously didn't install a graphics card because, well, it's not going to need anything super fancy. Down the line, maybe we'll add something like an optical drive or an extra hard disk drive, or maybe even like a, I don't know, SSD cache. But for now, it's ready to go. Let's install it into that server cabinet over there. Well, it's not a cabinet, the server rack. Just need to secure these rack rails that Silverstone was kind enough to also send for this case, like that there, and then we'll bolt them down, and then whenever we want, we can slide the server out. Although, I don't think we're going to need to. I actually had the rails at the wrong height. Now this is always the sketchy part, so we gotta just carefully bear the entire weight of this thing and slide it in, and hope we won't screw anything up. Why is this not going further back?
A few moments later.
Come on now. Slide up. Yep. Okay. It's actually going in now, and then these little quick release tabs built into the case, which is nice, so it's more or less bolted in, and you can slide it out by pulling on these two little tabs here. So that's pretty cool. Now I've got a few more of these thin 1U plates just to kind of put a barrier between things. I'm gonna put one right here between the NAS and our NVR, just so that our power supply in particular has some breathing room. If this was sandwiched right on top of this, then that grill back there would be pretty much pointless. Here's the moment of truth then. I know this is a weird angle and there's a lot going on here. We're looking at this assembly here. We wanna see if this power's on. I've plugged in everything. We'll take care of Ethernet later. Just wanna make sure that it works. 3, 2, 1. Oh, you know what? That might do it. Power unit. Okay, here we go. Much better, and crazy loud out of the gate. It has quickly calmed though, and it looks like all 4 of our hard disk drives are at least being powered, which is a good start. It's gonna take a while to initialize all these disks, I imagine. And it looks like we're getting some LEDs, at least power LEDs, somewhere on that board back there. I know you can't really see it. All the fans are spinning. Yeah, so far, so good. And just like that, we've booted straight into the Proxmox virtual environment. This is via the USB I've connected to the NAS, so we need to have this installed on our 2 NVMe's again in RAID 1, and I'm gonna show you sort of kind of how to do that here. I'm still learning, but I'll walk you through it as best I can. So to start, we definitely want the graphical interface. It's just easier for me. You might prefer the terminal. We're going to agree to the EULA. And okay, so this is the important part, especially if you want to RAID 1. You can see at the bottom there, target hard disk. This is where we're gonna be installing the operating system. You wanna click on options, I believe. This will give us a chance to combine both of these drives and essentially mirror each other. It'll flash the OS onto both of them. So here at options, we'll go to file system, the drop down here, and ZFS RAID 1. That's what we want, and you can see both of our drives now have been selected. That's super important. Make sure that you click the correct 2 drives so you have multiple SSDs attached, and then we'll click OK. I'm gonna give this a host name of Polaris. That's actually what I've decided to name our NAS. We'll click next, and all right, just review this, make sure it all looks okay. We'll click install, and here we go. And now that it's fired back up, we can go ahead and enter the IP. This is the local IP of the NAS, which was 1.1.28 with a port of 8006, and click enter, and here we are. We are in the Proxmox virtual environment, which is great. This means that everything works as is. You can see we named it Polaris. Now, the other server here, this is called Aldebaran. This is just another star name. This is the, I'm calling it the compute cluster. This is the one with the 4090 in it, the big guy, the one right below the NAS. And this actually is going to be managing the cluster. So I've actually gone in and created a cluster for both of these. So all I really need to do is tab into the Aldebaran Proxmox VE, and then from here I can manage both servers without issue. I can actually do the same thing from Polaris' side. But it's pretty easy to just tab in and access pretty much anything we could ever need. Now, the point of a NAS, literally in its name, is to create a storage solution that's accessible across the network. So the next thing we need to do is create a storage pool from our drives. We could do this in Proxmox, or we could do this via TrueNAS, which is the one that I've been kind of getting accustomed to. It's free, it's very easy to use, the GUI's great, so I'll show you kind of just a bit of how that works. But what we're going to do is download an image from the TrueNAS website, and then we'll load that through Proxmox. We'll create a partition on our RAID 1 array on the NAS itself, and then from there we can boot straight into TrueNAS and then configure our drives and things. So we'll set up, I think we're going to go, again, a RAID 10. We might go a RAID 5, but I think RAID 10 is probably the best just for reads and writes and whatnot. I'm not as worried about capacity because I just throw my videos on there. This is really all the NAS is for. It's just for old video footage, and well, I rarely need it. It's just nice to have, you know, on a rainy day. But, and I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to some of you, I've already screwed something up. I just realized I couldn't get the hard drives to be detected in Proxmox, or in the BIOS for that matter, and I kept tinkering with different PCI lane configs and stuff and trying to make sure that I had this as prepared as possible for the several drives that are connected here. The problem is the SAS to SATA cable that I threw into here, because we have a single SAS port running from the board, the hot swap board for all 4 of these hard disk drives, is not the correct direction. It needs to be a reverse directional cable, and I bought a forward directional cable. So there's that. It's just really finicky because, like, the hot swap bays are SATA ports, right? And those 4 SATA ports run to a single SAS port. Now they're expecting you to pair, you know, a server grade motherboard with this. So you just run a single SAS cable to your motherboard and you can control all 4 from a single cable. That's great. That's efficient. I get it. I understand why they use SAS and not SATA, because you just have way too many cables to deal with, and the throughput is just massively superior with SAS. But in our case, we have to run from SATA to SAS and then back to SATA again, because our B650 motherboard only has SATA controllers and SATA ports. I just got the direction wrong, so I had to order another cable. The more you know. So, a few days have gone by, and well, this is the old cable. The new one is now finally in the system. I'll show you that in a second, but I want to reiterate, because I don't...
Is everything. That's why University of Phoenix makes it easy to balance work, family, and school with online classes 24/7, so you get the freedom to learn when and where you want. Start your degree at phoenix.edu.
Stock up on seasonal produce at Whole Foods Market. Get 2 large Hass avocados for $3 with Prime through February 6th. From salads to toasted sourdough, it's the ultimate addition to any meal. While supplies last, shop in-store or online. Terms apply.
Taco Bell just dropped the new Cravings Value Menu. Now you can get 10 items for $3 or less, which means you can get the food you want for the price you want. It's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too. But in this case, it's a double-stacked taco from the new Cravings Value Menu. So basically, you can have your double-stacked taco and eat it too, which is a lot crunchier than cake. The new Cravings Value Menu is here. Get it at Taco Bell today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for price and participation which vary. Tax extra.
appointment, so we thought we'd...
So here's... So here is Toby the tram engine. He is the biggest pain in my ass ever. And your side rods work. He does need to be taller, though. Like I said, this is not the final Toby design. We'll get a better one. We'll give James back his chassis for now. Because at some point we will be, and I mean will be, getting... I need to get a Herc. Yeah, there's really no problem with that. Toby's a box. It's not like you're really going to get any special out of Toby. He's a box. But I want to work on Railworks for a bit. I haven't been on there in a little while.
Hi, we're Visible. We're the wireless company with nothing to hide. Seriously. Hidden fees? We don't have them. Annual contracts? Not our thing. Great wireless on just one line? Now that's more like it. Get unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon for just $25 a month. Taxes and fees included. That's right, $25 a month, every month. Sorry, hidden fees. We're just not that into you. Sometimes the choice is just Visible. Switch today at visible.com. Rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see visible.com.
Mainline engines always boast how big they are, superior by far. But little engines toil away from dawn to dusk, without a fuss or care. Just because we're small doesn't mean we don't stand tall, and we pull our weight like all the others do. You'll be surprised, in spite of our size, just what little engines can do. Little engines
No, Doug, it isn't.
Silly old boy. Silly old boy. But I don't catch cows, sir. Rubbish.
I'm Thomas.
I run this branch line. Rubbish. Blue is the only proper colour for an engine.
Oh, sorry. Can't stop. Got to see a coach about to train.
Blue is the only proper colour for an engine.
minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ah, first pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision?
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? See
There you go. I gotta head out. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye for now.